Hi, I'm Chef Steve. Welcome to the Care Kitchen, where we cook with kindness. This program is brought to you by ComForCare and At Your Side, and ComForCare and At Your Side provides personal care for people throughout the United States and Canada. I'm Chef Steve here with you every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Care Kitchen Cooking with Kindness. Today we're going to focus on leftovers and how we can best utilize those leftovers that we have and sort of think about leftovers in a different way. I know that, often leftovers sort of have maybe a negative connotation, I don't want to eat leftovers, but you can create great new dishes with leftover ingredients. And of course, at the same time, you're maximizing the usage. We don't want to waste the food. And we also need to be cognizant of the budget, the cost of food. Food is quite expensive, and if we can utilize as much of it as possible and minimize the waste, then we're going to get the highest yield and the best budget on it too, in terms of cost. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to feature a recipe from the Care Kitchen cookbook. And this recipe is a chicken salad with grapes and almonds. And I'm going to basically put this together and show you how that works. But I have some leftover chicken, and I have some other leftover ingredients. I had one stalk of celery left, which I chopped up. I had one tomato, which I'm going to use, and I have some other vegetables I'm going to show you in the presentation to utilize everything possible. So, when we have good leftovers, and in this particular case, if we focus on the protein of chicken, I roasted a chicken, so I had that meal, the roast chicken. Then I took the carcass of the chicken and I put it in a pot, and I made a nice chicken stock. So I had that chicken stock, and I utilized that yesterday for a nice chicken soup, and I had a little bit of celery left over. And I have some chicken left over. I've got some nice chicken breasts that I put in a container here. And that's another thing about leftovers. You're going to make sure that they're well stored. Now, these containers are great because they're clear and you can see what's in them. And actually, they also seal very tightly. So some type of a food container that seals well, where you can see what's in it. And if you're going to use it right away, it's fine, but you can always date it too to make sure that you're using it. Now, something like this, cooked chicken, should be utilized within 4 days. So understanding that, making sure everything's fresh. And, I always talk about the freshness of ingredients, the quality of ingredients. And, when we get high quality ingredients at the peak of freshness, we're going to get the most flavor, and we're also going to get the most yield out of it, and we're going to please that person we're cooking for, or ourselves if that's the meal we're making for ourselves. And in the Care Kitchen, we always talk about being creative, utilizing things, looking around in your fridge, look in your pantry, see what you have, what can you put together. The Care Kitchen cookbook provides lots of great inspiration, some great recipes, some ideas, more knowledge about ingredients, and understanding how to put meals together. So this meal that we're going to make today, we're going to make the chicken salad, as I said, with the grapes and almonds from the Care Kitchen cookbook. This is a meal that could be served on a sandwich, could be served on a platter, could be served for lunch, could be served for dinner, or a little snack. So this is a very useful thing, and people love chicken salad, and it's a very nice dish. So I'm going to start putting it together. First, I've got our ingredients here. I've got some almonds here. Now, these are smoked almonds, which I happen to have, and I'm going to use those. The recipe doesn't call for smoked almonds, but you can use them. It'll actually add another component. Then I've got some nice red seedless grapes here, which I'm going to cut in half. Make them easier in the salad. I've got some diced celery. As I said, this was left over. I diced it up. Then I have from my refrigerator, I've got some mayonnaise. I've got the chicken, which I'm going to cut up here in a minute. And on the board here, I've got a tomato which I've sliced, which I'm going to use for our final plating. And I also have this left over. Now this is something that I made the other day. I had some leftover zucchini. And what I did was I took the zucchini, I put it in this container, added a little bit of rice wine vinegar and olive oil, salt and pepper. So I'm thinking, and I haven't tried it yet, so I'm going to taste this, but this is sort of like a pickled zucchini. So that's something that you can always do with leftover vegetables, which is very nice. In fact, while we're talking about it, let me take a taste of it and see what we got. Came out great. It tastes like a very mild pickle, which is normally, of course, we think of pickles made with cucumbers. In this case, I use the zucchini. So this will be a very nice garnish on our plate along with the tomato. And these are vegetables. Also, it's summertime. Tomatoes in the summer, zucchini in the summer. You know, it doesn't get any fresher and better than that in terms of very high nutrition, great veggies. So I'm going to get started with putting our salad together. And first, I'm going to start with the chicken. So as I said, I've got the chicken breast here. And this is leftover. So I'm going to take this chicken. And we're going to cut this up. So I want to make this into a medium-sized dice. You see it's very nice, all the chicken breast meat. And we're just going to dice this up. Just pretty simple process here. And you know, the other thing is in summertime, a cold plate is always nice. Seasonal kind of a thing, which is always nice. All right, so let me get our chicken together here. And, you know, this, as I said, you can keep this cooked chicken around safely, no problem at all, for about 3 to 4 days in the fridge in a sealed, nice sealed container. So I'm going to take this chicken and add it to my bowl here. You know, one of the fun things about cooking, really, especially when you're learning, when you're cooking for someone in your care and you're learning what their preferences are, it's always a lot of fun to try different things and have people taste things. And yourself, you know, how are you going to really be able to talk about something unless you try it yourself? So, you know, I always encourage everyone, try these recipes, you know, open your, you know, maybe your experience a little bit to something that's a little different. I mean, today's recipe is really a pretty common thing, but we've dressed it up a little bit from a regular chicken salad by adding the almonds, adding the grapes. It adds a component, it adds elements of nutrition. Nuts are very good. Of course, the chicken's high in protein. The nuts are another source of protein. Grapes have all kinds of health benefits to them, vitamins and minerals, good nutrition. The dark color of a fruit or a vegetable indicates an antioxidant property, anti-inflammatory property. So these are all good. And of course, celery, another good vegetable. So we've got a lot of good nutrition here, and we're going to have a lot of great flavor here. Okay, so I'm going to just take another piece of my chicken here and just add a little bit more chicken to this. Okay. All right. So we've got a little more chicken here going into the bowl. And then we'll get started with the rest of our ingredients. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to take these grapes and I'm going to cut them in half. And we do that just to make it a little bit easier in terms of the size of the piece of food that someone's putting in their mouth. So these grapes are washed, ready to go. I'm going to lay them out on my cutting board here. And for something like this, I'm going to grab my paring knife and use my paring knife. It's a little bit easier to control for cutting grapes in half than the bigger chef's knife. These are really the two tools in terms of knives that you're going to use most frequently. It's going to be a paring knife for close, small work, and a chef's knife for the larger pieces, better slicing. And, so that's how that usually works. Those are really the best knives and really the main knives you need. The only other knife that I always suggest is a serrated knife, a bread knife for cutting bread, also great for slicing tomatoes. So let's add our grapes to the bowl now. Okay. Now we may as well throw a few more of those in. Finish this up here. And that'll finish up my grapes that I had in the fridge. So we're utilizing those. And, one of the things, especially something like grapes, I find sometimes, for some reason, it's hard to get anything other than a 2-pound bag of grapes. So I always like to come up with things. It's just my wife and I, so that's a lot of grapes. So I like to come up with different ideas, different things that I can put the grapes in. The salad is a great thing. Chicken salad's great. Even sprinkling them on a green salad is also very good. So now I've got chicken in here. I've got our grapes in here. I'm going to throw our almonds in. Okay, we got our almonds. And we have our diced celery. Throw that in there. Okay. So we've got our chicken. We've got our celery. We've got our grapes. We've got our almonds. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in some seasoning. So this particular recipe, and I think it's really good in here anyway, calls for onion powder. Onion powder is a great spice, gives a good flavor. And then we're going to put in our mayonnaise. Okay. And with a little luck, I probably should have picked a larger bowl than this, but that's okay. We're going to mix this up. And that's something to keep in mind too. I had all these ingredients and I thought this bowl was going to be big enough. Now it's giving me a challenge to mix it up, but that's okay. And you can always grab a larger bowl, and that's just something you sort of get to know. I'm always trying to fit as much as I can into the smallest container because I'm trying to reserve the space, and I'm thinking also about storage in the fridge. Of course, I didn't have to challenge myself quite so much with this mixing. Okay, now I'm going to put in some salt. And I'm going to grind some black pepper in here now. Okay. And this is looking very, very delicious. This really is one of my favorite chicken salad recipes. I really love the almonds in there, and I love the grapes. It gives it a nice little sweetness, a little tartness, and of course the crunch from the celery. And you've got that nice flavor of the almonds in there and another crunch. And of course, great elements and great ingredients that provide lots and lots of nutritional value. And we always have to be cognizant of that. One of the reasons too, in terms of the size of things and the amount of food that we're producing, we have to be cognizant of the fact that, first of all, as people age, appetites become more diminished. So putting a large plate of food in front of someone in your care is probably not a great idea from the standpoint of they're just going to look at it and think, wow, how am I supposed to eat all that? So if we make a smaller plating, make it very attractive. Last week's program, we talked about presentation. But presentation is always a factor in anything that we do. So now we're ready to, first of all, let's give this a taste so that we can make sure that I have the right amount of salt and pepper in there. I'm just going to grab a fork here and let's give it a try. See what we got. Okay, always the most fun after you create something. That is really good. I've left the right amount of everything in there. So that's great. So now we can have some fun plating up our dish. We'll just give a wipe to these knives here for a second. And we'll get this going. Okay. So I've got a nice plate here for our plating. So the first thing I'm going to do is put down our nice scoop of our chicken salad right here. You see all the nice ingredients in there. And that looks like a nice sized portion. Okay. All right, so I want to dress this up. So one thing I'm going to do, which I like to do, is sprinkle a little paprika on top to give it flavor. That's kind of a old-timey garnish thing. You know, you always use paprika on potato salad or any kind of salad just to give it a little color. It really doesn't give it much of an extra spice. It's really pretty neutral in terms of that, but it gives it a nice presentation. Next thing I'm going to do is take my tomatoes and zucchini. Tomatoes are fresh. Zucchini has a slight pickling on it. And we're going to alternate these and get just a really beautiful looking plate. And that just looks wonderful. Really looks great. And of course, when we put this down in front of someone, if I was presenting it to you, I'd present it with the protein in front, like that, and that makes a beautiful plate. Well, that's our chicken salad with grapes and almonds, and served up in a very nice presentation with some tomatoes and pickled zucchini. Now, I would serve this also with a nice dinner roll. So we have a nice dinner roll on the plate, and that can also have a little butter on it. And that makes a delicious, delicious lunch or a small dinner, especially if you had a side, maybe some potatoes or things of that nature. A little potato salad, a larger plate, can make a nice dinner. There's so many options utilizing the ingredients that you have on hand, making the most out of those leftovers, putting together some delicious meals with utilizing all of the ingredients that we have on hand so that we come up with some creative, beautiful looking plates to really wow those people in our care and also ourselves. I mean, I know when I make a nice plate, I'm looking forward to eating this for lunch. It looks so lovely. Beautiful colors, great nutrition, all homemade, all real ingredients, all fresh and ready to go. That's how we do it in the Care Kitchen. We cook with kindness. We have a lot of fun with the cooking. I love sharing the fun with others. I love sharing it with you, and I really appreciate you spending time. I want to remind you to go to the ComForCare website. You can go to the senior nutrition section there and download some recipes, some other information about ingredients, and get an idea of what the Care Kitchen is all about. We cook with kindness. We have a lot of fun, and I love sharing this with you. I hope you'll come back and see me again. I'm here every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. This is brought to you by ComForCare and At Your Side. I'm Chef Steve. I've had a great time with you today, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Enjoy your cooking. Remember to cook with kindness and come back and see me again in the Care Kitchen. Have a great one.